channelinginc.com. Please feel free to go to my website, channelinginc.com, to know more about what I do and what kind of workshops that I put on a regular basis, all to do with spirituality and channeling training, which is super exciting. So yeah, feel free to please go to my website and find out more about my upcoming workshops that I have that are all online and some in person once in a while, but mostly online. Anyways, today I'd like to talk about an amazing topic that I'm super excited about. It is, what if you had chose different parents, and what would your life be like if you had chosen different parents? Would you still have chosen a different set of parents? And what would my life be like now? And it's a really good question, because basically what a lot of people want to know is, like, I had one of my students ask me this question, like, how would like, what if I still, my soul, have chosen different parents? So think of it this way. Like, have you ever thought about, like, you're here now as a miracle? And the reason I say this is because you've had to incarnate, not just like your parents and your grandparents and your great grandparents and your great 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 grandparents all had to have babies, and all had to have, basically sex, and then impregnated, and then they had babies, and then they had babies, and then all of a sudden now you're here. Like, how everything had to work out perfectly for you to be here right now. Like, how incredible is that? And what kind of miracle is that? And how exciting is that? Like, it really is such a miracle. And that is on a physical level, like a DNA and lineage level. But then if you add the soul in there, it gets really complex, because before we incarnate, what we do is, in the astral realm, we work with our soul family members, mostly ascended masters in our soul family, and we work with them to create what I call like a rough blueprint of what we're going to achieve, what's going to happen when we incarnate, what kind of purpose and soul's evolution do we want to have, and experiences do we want to have while we're incarnated. Now, the reason I call it a rough blueprint is because there's no guarantees in life. Why? Because we have this most amazing magical thing called free will. And because of free will, things could change. So, for example, when I was a kid, my dad had a job opportunity to go to a different city and a different place, and he chose not to because of the potential of it, like a lot of gangs, a lot of drugs, and all that. And he was afraid that that might affect, the upbringing of myself, and he didn't want me to get into that as much as I could have. And so because of that, he chose not to take that opportunity. Whereas if he would have, I wouldn't have had a choice, and I would have been on a different path, different timeline, not necessarily good or bad, right or wrong, but just different. Because I was a minor, I would have had to go with him, and I would have grown up in that different, well, like with my parents, I would have grown up in a different environment, and that would have affected who I am and the experiences that I would have had. However, as an adult, I also have free will as well, and I could choose different experiences, but then sometimes people impose their free will on me, and it could affect me in a good way or a detrimental way. But so it's up to me to be empowered and choose this in a good way. So why would I incarnate on this planet with my current parents? Because it can provide an opportunity for me to help my soul grow and evolve. And maybe there's certain people that I want to incarnate with. There's a whole bunch of different reasons. So going back to the original question is, if I didn't choose these set of parents, would have my soul chosen another set of parents? And the answer is yes. So if you think of it like the astral realm, when you're in the astral realm, before you incarnate, you're working with your soul family members, your spirit guides, and you are basically looking at them and go, or working with them to go, okay, which parents, and then, the mother and the father might have sex, and then they're impregnated. Okay, that's your opportunity to come in and be born, like what's the word called? Basically, where you're going to be born through your mother, and but you might not take that opportunity. You might choose to say, no, I don't want that opportunity. I might take another one. But let me make this very clear. Every single one of us, we've chosen our parents. Whether you like it or not, whether you agree with it or not, you have. But the cool thing is if you look at it now as an adult and you actually try to assess it on a spiritual level, why did I choose my mom? Why did I choose my father? Why did I choose my siblings? And there's often a reason behind that. Often it has to do with Akashic records, contracts, deals, agreements, things like that. And when you start to accept this and know this and work through it in a good way, in a healthy way, You can resolve these contracts, resolve these agreements that you had made, maybe from previous lives or things like that, so that they can be resolved once and for all. And how cool is that on a soul level? And to try to transcend this like anger, resentment, ill feelings towards any one of your family members, and instead embrace it and welcome it as part of your soul's evolution, and then try to work with your spirit guides to help you like release this, let it go, and then not just like let it go, but also work towards enhancing. Because remember that a lot of the stuff that you received from your parents and grandparents and great great grandparents are actually good things, and a lot of the good, like the values and other things, that attributes that you may have received from your parents and family members, may actually be good things. It's not all bad, but of course it's impossible to be a parent and not have some things that are, you pass down to your children to not be healthy. So same thing with your parents. And so can we forgive them? Can we be okay with that? Can we make amends with them if they're still alive? And if they're not, even if they're not alive, can we still make amends with them and work with them? So these are all really, really important points that we want to do, because we want to be empowered. We don't want to be like a victim mentality where, oh, this life sucks and it was so horrible growing up with my mom or my dad or both or whatever it might be. And I know like it could be tough, but if you look at it as a soul level, how can we use this to grow and evolve as a soul? And this is a really much, much higher way of living. And just think of like an ascended master, like a Jesus or a Buddha or Mother Mary or whoever you want to, as an ascended master. How would have they looked at it, and how could have they transcended and moved beyond and ascended beyond, like the resentment and the lower energies, and use this as an opportunity for soul's evolution. So this is what I want to encourage you to do if you're watching, is to work with your own soul in your sternum area, work with your soul, work with your spirit guides, and work with healers to help you move and transcend this amazing, like this childhood that you might have had, good, bad, or ugly, and then be empowered as an adult to move forward and use this as a great opportunity. My name is Ken Lewicki, channelinginc.com. Feel free to check out my website, and I hope to see you soon. Have a great day, everyone.